Right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I can see we've got lots of you joining already. It's lovely to have you here. So my name is Olivia, and I am going to be running the course that's going to last this week, covering GCSE biology, inheritance, genetics, and variation. So I will give you a quick overview on what we're going to cover in a moment, but to start with, I need to actually introduce myself. So let's go on to this next page here. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. So I am a tutor for MyTutor, and I am a graduate. So I studied biomedical sciences at the University of Birmingham and I actually graduated this year. So I finally entered the real world of work now, and I have just started a job as a biology teacher. So I still do tutoring alongside, but yeah, also a teacher in a school, and I teach GCSE and A level. So I'm really, really excited about this course because I think that this topic 6, inheritance, variation, evolution, is one of the most interesting topics in the GCSE. And I also know that it's one that students often find the most difficult, which is a really, really good opportunity for you to absolutely nail this topic over the next week or so. So a little overview then. So this session is going to last 1 hour and will be the same time every day this week throughout half term. And in this session in particular, we're going to be introducing inheritance, variation, and evolution, and specifically looking at reproduction, so mitosis and meiosis, as well as sexual and asexual reproduction, and having a little look at the genome too. And then throughout the rest of the week, we'll be looking at inheritance tomorrow. So looking at Punnett squares and dominant and recessive alleles. We'll be looking at variation and evolution, then classification, and then finally we'll finish up with a session on exam technique, which is something that I know, again, students find really, really tricky in GCSE biology. It's one thing learning the content, and then it's another thing having to apply that to the question, and that's something that I sort of specialize in, really, is helping students do that, which hopefully should get you all good marks in your exams. So to sort of chat to me, obviously your cameras and mics aren't on or anything, so you can interact with me via the chat. So hopefully you're all familiar with Zoom by now. So you just message me in the chat. You can send just me a message or everyone a message. So I'm going to be trying to keep this as interactive as we can. So yeah, if you can interact with me, then that would be brilliant. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else I had to say before we get started. I think that's pretty much everything. At the end, we will be doing a Kahoot quiz. So that'll be a really good opportunity for you to showcase your knowledge and see what you've picked up throughout the lesson. And also these lessons will be recorded and they'll be available for you to watch after. So yeah, right, let's get started then. So this is what we're looking at this session. So reproduction and the genome. So we are going to be looking at the difference between mitosis and meiosis. We're going to have a look at the difference between sexual and asexual reproduction. We're going to look at the genome and the structure of DNA. And then finally, just a quick bit on the importance of understanding the human genome. So this is all stuff from the AQA GCSE biology specification. I know probably not all of you here are doing AQA. I know we've got quite a range of different ages and people from all over the place. Generally, you find that GCSE biology is very similar between all the different exam boards. But if you're not doing AQA, then make sure you do check for differences in your own. Okay, then I have a quick starter for you all. So just wanted to see what you know already, really. So I've got 5 questions ranging from easy up to hard. So if you can have a go at answering any of these in the chat, and I'll see what answers we get through. So where is DNA found in the cell? What is a chromosome? How many chromosomes do we have? What is a gene? And finally, what is a protein? Okay, so lots of answers coming through about where is DNA found? So we've got, yeah, DNA is found in the nucleus. Fantastic. So that would be in eukaryotic cells. Where's DNA found in prokaryotic cells? Okay, what is a chromosome? Let's see. I think this might be slightly harder. Okay, so we've got a long strand of DNA. Yes, sort of. A long coil of DNA. We're on the right lines. What else have we got? Yeah, so a chromosome is DNA. DNA is really, really long, and it all has to coil up together and fit inside the cell. So DNA coils to form chromosomes. So I guess sort of chromosomes and DNA are basically the same thing. We use the terms interchangeably, but DNA is more sort of the molecular version, and chromosomes is when it's all coiled up really tightly to fit into the cell. Okay, what else have we got then? Oh, I've got loads of answers coming through. I'm trying to read them all. Well done. Someone said, yeah, prokaryotes. So in prokaryotes, the DNA is actually in like a loop, and it floats freely. Okay, then how many chromosomes do we have? A range and answers here. Okay, so we have 23 chromosomes. So exactly as Luke said, so we've got 23 from each parent. 23 from mum, 23 from dad, means we have 46 chromosomes. So we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, and that can be kind of confusing sometimes. Okay, what is a gene? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read all these answers. I'm so pleased that all of you are trying to answer them. Who said what a gene is? Da, da, da. Okay, I'm seeing a section of DNA. Good. So a gene is a small section of DNA. What's the point in a gene? Like, why do we have genes? It's a section of DNA that, yeah, so it controls our characteristics, I guess. So it defines us. Yeah, what else have we got? I'm looking for a specific word. What do genes code for? We say that genes code for. We say broadly genes control our characteristics, but why do they control our characteristics? That's something that we're going to look at this lesson. Yeah, so genes code for proteins. So proteins are all in the body. They're such an important molecule. And the reason that we say, for example, eye color, the reason that you might have a gene for blue eyes is because your gene that codes for eye color, that controls that characteristics, actually codes for a certain type of protein, which gives us the blue pigment in our eyes. Proteins are important for everything. Okay, then, and finally, then, what is a protein? Brilliant. I can see we've got some answers here. So Will, a long chain of amino acids. Fantastic. So protein, yeah, you see lots of people, Michelle, lots of people saying that. Well done. So yeah, proteins are made up of amino acids. They're really important in the body. And it's really, really important that you understand the importance of like genes coding for proteins in this lesson. Particularly, I mean, everything that we're going to cover today covers dual award science, and we're not going to look at the stuff for triple. But if any of you, I mean, is anyone here doing triple science? You will look at proteins in more detail. You'll look at protein synthesis and whatever. Okay, right, fantastic. Hopefully that's got our brains warmed up. Thank you everyone who's answered those questions. So let's get started then. So this is what we just talked about, chromosomes. By the way, if you want to get a pen and paper and jot down some notes in this, then feel free, that would be really good. But obviously you will be able to watch this back as well if there's any bits that you've missed, and jot down some notes as well. Okay, so chromosomes, not the focus of this lesson. It's something that you'll have covered earlier on in GCSE biology, but I thought it's probably really important that we talk about it anyway, because we're going to be using the words a lot this lesson. So chromosomes are found in the nucleus, and chromosomes made of DNA. DNA holds our genes. Okay, they're normally found in pairs. So, for example, chromosome number 1, we have 2 copies of chromosome number 1, all the way up to chromosome number 23. So we can see here, this is what chromosomes look like in humans. So we can see in green, we've got the chromosome from your dad, and in purple, lilac, whatever color that is, you've got the chromosome from your mum. So you can see for every chromosome, we have 2 copies, and then right the way up to X and Y. Okay, so the first thing, I'm actually not doing this in order of what I said on the learning objectives, because if you look at the order of this spec, you see that you should learn about meiosis and reproduction first. But I think it makes more sense to look at DNA first, because we talk about DNA and meiosis and mitosis and whatever. Anyway, so DNA, structure of DNA. So DNA is a double helix. I'm sure you've all seen those little models of DNA before. You hopefully know that DNA is double helix. And we also call DNA a polymer. So what does polymer mean? Well, we can look at that word. If poly means many, so it means it's made up of many repeating units. We call these units nucleotides. So it's sort of like a brick wall is made up of many bricks, or a chain is made up of many little links in that chain. That's what DNA is like. It's made up of these many units, and they form two strands. So a gene, as we've already said, a gene is a small section of DNA on a chromosome, and it codes for, and when we say codes for, it's sort of like a recipe book, and it's like a recipe that gives us a particular protein, and proteins are made up of amino acids. So this is my little analogy for it. You're going to notice this throughout the week. I am a big believer in sort of analogies for things and making links. And actually the best way to learn things, the way I managed to learn all of GCSE biology, all of A-level biology and everything in my biomed degree, was making links with real life things and these complex biological concepts. And actually the process of making those links solidifies everything in your brain, and it makes it stick to your long-term memory. So I'm going to use that a lot. So this is how genes code for proteins. So we can imagine DNA is like a big recipe book, and that's in the nucleus of our cells. Okay, so big recipe book, and we've got lots of different pages, and each page is a recipe. Each of those codes for, sort of gives us a different meal, and each meal is like a protein. So we might have a cake, we might have a chocolate cake, we might have a vanilla cake, we might have, and there'd be two variations of the same thing. So that would be like different versions of a gene, like blue eyes or brown eyes, okay? But then we might have a completely different one, different recipe for, let's say, a ham sandwich or a cheese sandwich or a stew. I don't know. I'm thinking of these random recipes. It's not even really a recipe, is it? But you get the idea. Any sort of meal of such. So that our DNA is like our recipe book, right? It codes for the different ones of these. And our proteins actually get made at the ribosomes, which are found in the cytoplasm. I can see a couple of people are asking me to slow down a little bit. I'll try and slow down. We have got lots to get through, but don't forget that you can go back and you can watch this lesson back. We'll record it. Everything I'm going to talk quite a lot sort of around these topics, but actually the stuff that you really need to know is going to be on the screen on my PowerPoint. But obviously I'm going to talk about it. Okay. How is the information read from the DNA? So that's something that you look at in protein synthesis. Effectively, we write out copies of a single gene in DNA, and that copy, it's called RNA, and it leaves the nucleus and it goes to the ribosomes, and then the ribosomes read it. Okay, hopefully this is sort of making sense so far. So right at this point, just to check, progress check, you should understand what a gene is, and we've got that here. You should also understand what a chromosome is. So if you understand this, then we should be okay to move on to the next bit. Right, mitosis and meiosis now we're going to have a look at. So if we just go back to our learning outcomes, hopefully you should understand this one here, the genome and the structure of DNA. The genome we're going to look at a little bit later on. Okay, so now we're into the difference between mitosis and meiosis. So can anyone tell me then, before we get started with this, can you remember what mitosis and meiosis are? Answer it in the chat and I'll see. Because I know the two are very similar. They're both types of cell division, and often people get mixed up. I see we've got a question, what exam board this is this? This is for AQA, but it should be fairly similar for all different exam boards. Okay, so we've got mitosis is cell division for growth and repair, good. And it's also asexual reproduction. What else have we got? Mitosis creates identical cells, brilliant. These are all involved in reproduction. So what about, yes, we get two daughter cells, Cleo, well done. Lucy, yeah, this is a type of cell division. What else have we got? So what's meiosis then? So yeah, so Lucas, so meiosis is involved in sexual reproduction, good. How many cells does meiosis produce, and what are those cells called? Yeah, so Tika, so you're right, meiosis produces our gametes. Just having a read through all of these. So I can't reply to everyone, but it looks like you're all along the right lines. Oh, a nice word there, haploid. Meiosis does produce haploid cells. Okay, I'll let you all keep saying your answers. I can't read through all of them, but they're really, really good. Well done. So let's have a look at how that happens and what specifically the differences are then. So I've sort of just summarized everything in this slide for you, so you can screenshot this or copy this out. So I'm going to come back to this. So let's look at this. Firstly then, so these are both types of cell division, and we're going to look at how they happen. So the biggest thing, the most difficult thing is remembering which one is which, because most people remember one of them is for growth and repair and one of them is for like sexual reproduction, producing gametes. But how do we remember that? So the way I remember it is mitosis happens in my toes and everywhere else in my body. Okay, so why does it happen in your toes? Well, while your toes are growing, your toes are a bit bigger now than they were when you were a baby. So for those to grow, those cells have to duplicate themselves by mitosis, and that's a type of cell division. It happens all in your body. So, you know, your skin cells constantly making new skin cells, they divide by mitosis. What else is happening? You know, any sort of growth, anytime you get a wound on your skin, and we sort of have to fix that up and repair that. That would be, those new cells would be being made by mitosis. So what about meiosis? Well, meiosis happens in my ovaries, okay? And obviously, you know, not just the ovaries, but that's the way I remember it, happens in my ovaries, and that is where we produce our gametes. And our gametes are our sort of our sex cells, so our sperm and our egg. So that's how I remember it. And the other thing that I remember of how many cells each of these produce is mitosis has a T in it, T for 2 cells. Okay, so mitosis produces 2 cells. So let's have a look at how that happens then. I can see Katie's you said you're having sound difficulties. Can everyone else hear me okay? Hopefully you can all hear me. Okay, so how does this happen then? So what can we see here? So we can see here that mitosis on the left, so something happens and then we split the cells, and meiosis on the right, something happens and then we split them once and then we split them again. So what we've actually got here, before any sort of cell division, this is something that if you don't remember this, it probably won't make sense. Before any type of cell division, the DNA, our genetic material, i.e. our chromosomes, we can use all of those terms interchangeably. I'm actually going to write that on the board. So DNA is basically the same as our chromosomes, which is the same as our genetic material. We use those terms really interchangeably. They do mean slightly different things, but for the purpose of this lesson anyway. Okay, so before any type of cell division, our DNA replicates. And that happens in the cell cycle, which is something that you'll have looked at in another topic. So we can see that here. So this is our DNA replicating. Okay, so then what happens? Well, it seems kind of silly, mitosis. Our DNA replicates for the DNA to halve again. What's that all about? So DNA is replicated from here to here, and then DNA has halved from here to here. Now that enables us to produce our identical cells. You might be thinking, you might have thought about mitosis before. Well, hang on a minute. We're creating identical cells, but we're halving our cells, which means we must be halving our DNA. And if we're halving our DNA, surely they're not identical. The reason they're identical is we double them to start with, right? So if I wanted to, I'm trying to think of an example. If I wanted to, I don't know, I was trying to think of an example, I can't think of one, but yeah, hopefully you get the idea, right? So we double it, ready to halve it. So times by 2, divide by 2. And mitosis and meiosis, we're really looking at what happens to the DNA here and what happens to the nucleus. Obviously, this does tend to go hand in hand with the cells dividing, but it's mainly, mitosis is actually the division of the nucleus. So yeah, so our DNA replicates and it halves, and that gives us identical daughter cells. We call them daughter cells. This means that they're cells that have come from another cell. And then meiosis, I see, is this a triple topic only? No, this is dual award science. Everything that we're covering today is relevant for everyone, all dual award science. Meiosis then, so our DNA replicates, it doubles, and then our cells divide once, so they split into two, so it halves again. So now we're just back at what we would be at if just mitosis would have happened. So then to halve it, we have to divide them again. Okay, so we would have gone from 46 chromosomes if we were talking about humans, with 23 pairs. We would have doubled that, so we'd have had two lots of 46, and then we divide that by 2 again, so we get 46 again, divide that by 2 again, and we get 23 pairs of chromosomes. So this would be our sperm or our egg. Okay, so meiosis creates more cells. Meiosis creates 4 cells, whereas mitosis creates 2. So I'm going to summarize this for you then on this page. This is everything you could be asked about mitosis and meiosis in the exam. So we've got mitosis, 1 division, meiosis, 2. Mitosis creates 2 cells and meiosis therefore creates 4. Following on from this, mitosis in humans, the cells produced by mitosis would have 46 chromosomes, which is 23 pairs, whereas meiosis, we only have 23 chromosomes and they're not in pairs. Mitosis, because we're just doubling it and halving it, they're all identical, whereas meiosis, they're not identical because we have shuffling of, so we take some of mum's chromosomes and some of dad's chromosomes and we mix them all together. And therefore the uses of that, this all sort of links together. Mitosis is used in growth and repair, also in asexual reproduction, and meiosis is in sexual reproduction. We're going to look a bit more about sexual and asexual reproduction soon. So have we got any questions on this? I'm going to answer them now while I leave this on the screen for you to copy down. Remember, we're going to be doing a quiz on the end. There's quite a few questions about mitosis and meiosis in there. So if you can come up with some sort of way to remember it, I mean, if you come up with any other way to remember it, let me know, honestly. This is just my way, but come up with your own. So what questions have we got? Oh, so are people born without 46 chromosomes, Down syndrome? So Down syndrome is where we have an extra chromosome, and the reason that happens, actually really interesting, meiosis doesn't quite happen properly. We don't quite separate those chromosomes as we should. So we double them and then we'd halve them, we separate them. But in Down syndrome, we actually, one of those chromosomes, chromosome 21, we don't actually separate, which means a cell ends up with 3 copies of that chromosome rather than just 2. Okay, what else have we got? So is meiosis always half? Yeah, meiosis always halves it. Why does meiosis produce 4 cells instead of 2? Meiosis produces 4 cells instead of 2 because, oh, wrong slide. Because it has 2 divisions. So it has first division and second division. So we doubled it and halved it and halved it again. Why is meiosis non-identical? Well, say for example, if we were thinking about me, right, and or you making your egg cells or your sperm cells, right? So I am a combination. The reason I am the way I am is because I've got some of my mum's genes, some of my mum's DNA, and some of my dad's DNA chromosomes, right? So my egg cells are going to have some of my mum's DNA and some of my dad's DNA, which means my kids are really just a combination of my mum and dad's DNA, right? So from my gamete, okay? So it's a combination of those. Because we only have a single set of chromosomes, because we only have 23 chromosomes rather than 46, rather than a copy from each parent, it might be that I have chromosome number 1 from my mum, and chromosome number 2 from my dad, and chromosome number 3 from my dad, and chromosome number 4 from my mum. But yeah, don't overcomplicate this too much. If you can just remember what's on this slide, everything, the main thing I want you to remember all boils down to the fact that mitosis, we have 1 division, and meiosis, we have 2. If you remember that, everything else will make sense. And remember, you can remember that by the T in mitosis for 2 cells. What other questions have we got? What is the definition of a gamete? A gamete is a sex cell, for example, sperm or an egg, and it has half the number of chromosomes. So do females create 4 egg cells and males create 4 sperm cells? Yeah, so from that original cell that's undergoing meiosis, then we would create 4 eggs or 4 sperms. But obviously that's happening lots. We've got a question, are prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase the cell cycles for meiosis or mitosis, they are part of that for both of them, mainly mitosis, but you don't really look at that at GCSE. What is a ribosome? Ribosome is something we looked at the start. It's where protein synthesis happens. We make proteins. How many chromosomes are in a gamete? In a gamete, we would have 23 chromosomes in a human cell, but all different organisms have different numbers of chromosomes. Okay, so I'm going to move on now. Remember, you can come back and you can watch this. I'm going to skip this slide. We don't need this. So what is this all for? So meiosis halves the number of chromosomes in the gametes. What's the point in that? Well, at fertilization, where we have a sperm meeting the egg, if both of them have half, both of them have 23 chromosomes, they come together to make full. So what do we call that? A embryo? No, zygote to start with, and then it go up to form an embryo. Okay, so half plus half is 1. Basic maths, right? And then, so that would be meiosis produces the gametes, and then they fuse together by fertilization, and then those divide again by mitosis that differentiates into different types of cells. What is a zygote? A zygote is when we have the fertilization of the sperm and the egg. Okay, so I'm gonna skip. Oh no, I'm giving you the answers already. Okay, here we go. So I've got an exam question which should see if you've understood that. So we've got a diagram showing 2 patterns of cell division. Cell division type A is used in gamete formation, and cell division type B is used in normal growth. Name the 2 types of cell division A and B shown in the diagram. So what can we see here? So division A, we're making our sperm and our egg. So what's division A? In division B, we've had these fertilization, and now it's just growing. Good, lots of answers there. So looks like most of you are correct. So A would be meiosis and B would be mitosis. Okay, wherever we see gametes or sperm or egg, we're talking about meiosis. Wherever we're seeing some sort of growth and identical cells, we're talking about mitosis. Name the process in which an egg and sperm join together. What would that be? Good, fertilization. Well done, everyone who gave me that answer. Lots of those coming through. And then finally, then a little bit trickier, if cell 1 contains 46 chromosomes, how many chromosomes will there be in cell 10 and cell 14? Let's see what answers we've got. So in cell 10, brilliant, we would have 23. And in cell 14, how many would we have? Good, 46. Brilliant. Okay, well done everyone who's answered those questions for me. I think that, yeah, that's it. So that's just a typical sort of question. Again, if you're doing this right now, you're doing good, right? Because this is a really, really difficult topic in GCSE biology. So if you're sort of understanding what I'm saying, good for you. And if not, remember you can come and watch this back. So let's look at reproduction now. What is the point in all of this? All for reproduction. Actually, no, before I can see some people are a bit confused. I'll explain how I found out C. So how many chromosomes will there be in 10 and 14? So in 10 is an egg cell. So we can see what's happened. This cell it would have had 46 to start with. So we have to remember, have they told us? Yeah, it's told us that it has 46. So we know that meiosis halves the number of chromosomes. So we just halve that, would be 23. And cell 14, we know, so we have 2 lots of 23 come together, and that forms cell 11, which has 46. And cell 14, these are just dividing by meiosis now, by mitosis now, okay? So they're all going to have the same numbers. Okay, so reproduction now then. So reproduction, asexual reproduction is where we have one parent. Sexual reproduction is where we have two. And yeah, so sexual reproduction involves sperm in the egg if we're talking about humans, or pollen in the egg if we're talking about plants. Obviously, it involves meiosis because we have to make those sperm in the egg, and it creates variation, which we'll see, use your common sense here. We are made by sexual reproduction and we are all different to each other. And that is because we are a combination of different gametes, different sperms and different eggs, right? There's loads of different combinations out there. And from different parents. And whereas asexual reproduction, obviously we don't produce by asexual reproduction, but some species do. Lots of plants produce by asexual reproduction, and that is just all creating identical cells. So it's just where one parent just using itself creates offspring which are all genetically identical. So strawberry plants can do this, for example. Now, what we're not going to look at is the advantages and disadvantages of sexual and asexual reproduction, just because that's something that you only look at in triple science. But anyone here who does do triple science, I'll briefly mention it to you. It all comes down to the fact whether we produce variation or not. Okay, so if we produce variation, that's a good thing because that enables us to have natural selection. If we don't produce variation, that's a good thing because it can happen really quickly. Asexual reproduction is really fast. It uses less energy. You don't have to find a mate, that sort of thing. Okay, have a look at your specification. It should tell you everything you need to know about it. How do identical twins form? Good question. So identical twins actually form when, if we go back to fertilization, we had a diagram of that somewhere. So when we go back to fertilization, they then split into two completely separate embryos and they develop separately. You need all of this for combined science, yes. Why aren't I covering the triple information? Because not everyone does triple science. We're covering everything on dual award, which is most things. There's only a few little extra bits for triple anyway, and we'll see, I'll drop them in as we go. But yeah, triple is just a little bit of extra detail. If we've got time at the end, then I will go through it. But yeah, it's only advantages and disadvantages of sexual and asexual reproduction you need to know for triple. And hopefully if you're doing triple science, then you should be able to have a look at that yourself anyway. Okay, let's see, we've just got a couple more questions. Yeah, so meiosis halves the number of chromosomes and therefore goes from 46 to 23. Okay, right, let's have, I think I've got another question, see if we can answer this. Someone's asking me to go over the division with the chromosome numbers again later. Yeah, so remember you can go back and you can watch this video back and have a look at that then. Okay, let's see if we can have a go at this. So the genetic information from the mother is carried in the something which are made in the something. You can tell me. The genetic information in the father is carried in the something which are made in the something. Good. So the genetic information from the mother is carried in the eggs which are made in the ovaries. The genetic information from the father is carried in the sperm which are made in the testes. In what type of reproduction offspring are produced that are genetically different from each parent? So that would be sexual reproduction. This happens because genetic information from each parent is carried in the what and joined together during what to develop into a fetus. So that would be carried in the gametes and joined together during fertilization. In what type of reproduction genetically identical offspring are produced because no mixing of genetic material takes place? That would be asexual reproduction. So well done, everyone. I've not got time to check everyone's answers because we've got lots of people in this class, but yeah, well done, all of you. That's fantastic. Okay, so let's see what else we've got to cover. So if we go back to the start, so hopefully now we've looked at the difference between mitosis and meiosis. We've looked at the difference between sexual and asexual reproduction. And now we've looked a little bit at the structure of DNA. Now, all we have left to look at is the importance of understanding the human genome. And then we will go on to our Kahoot. and then I'll answer any more questions that we have at the end. Okay, so what is the genome? The genome, this is a really, really hot topic in biology and just in research, because I don't know if you've heard of the Human Genome Project. Anyone heard about the Human Genome Project? This is all what this is to do with. So the genome is the range of genes, the range of DNA that we have in our cells. Okay, that particular organism has. So it's really important that we are able to study this. And the Human Genome Project, which was done in the early 2000s, so still quite a recent thing in the grand scheme of things, the Human Genome Project enabled us to look at every single gene and to identify the sequence that that's made up of. So genes are made of base sequences. So you've heard of A's and T's and C's and G's. They're made of just different sequences of those, sort of like a code. And we have now managed to sequence this for the entirety of our DNA, which is really helping us understand what our different like genes do, which is helping us figure out how genes link to diseases and different traits and whatever. Okay, so what you need to know then basically is the importance of understanding the human genome, and there are 3 very specific reasons. Obviously this is a very seems like a general question, doesn't it? Importance of understanding the human genome. So if you've given this in the exam, your mind might go blank, but what you need to be doing is you need to be looking at something called the specification. If you don't know what that is, don't know how to use it, I'll go for it at the start of tomorrow's lesson. But basically, this tells you everything you need to know. So for AQA, they want you to know 3 things about why the human genome is important. So firstly, it enables us to look at genes which are linked to certain types of diseases. So before, we might have had diseases which are genetic, and we might not really know what those genes are, what those diseases are caused by. But now we look at all the genes linked to them. It's really helping us understand these different diseases. So for example, cancer is a genetic thing. It's caused by mutations in our genes. So we're now starting to understand cancers a lot more, which is therefore enabling us to look at treatments a little bit more. If we understand the genetic and the molecular basis of these diseases, we can start to think about treatments for them. And then also those first 2 sort of link together. The final one is a bit of a random one, used in tracing human migration patterns from the past. So human migration patterns from the past. So basically, we can see based on how our DNA compares with people all over the world, where we've come from. And yeah, that's it for that point, really. So the three points here, I would recommend sticking these on a flashcard or something and remembering them. So I might quiz you on this actually at the start of next lesson, see who can remember these 3 importance of the human genome, because this isn't in the Kahoot at the end. The Kahoot at the end is mainly like mitosis, meiosis, and reproduction. Okay, so I think content-wise, that's all we've got through that a little bit quicker than I was expecting. But yeah, that's everything I have to say content-wise for today. So let's just go back and let's just summarize everything. So hopefully you've got plenty of time for the Kahoot quiz and also for the Kahoot quiz, and also to answer some more questions at the end. So yeah, so difference between mitosis and meiosis, difference between sexual and asexual reproduction, the genome and the structure of DNA, and the importance of understanding the human genome. How are you all doing? Have you all understood this so far? Let me know if you're sort of understanding. Give me a smiley face if you understand it, middle face if you're not, a sad face if you're just like, what is she on about? Okay, lots of smiley faces. Don't be afraid if you're not understanding this. It's not a problem at all. I'm happy to answer any questions, no matter how silly you think they are sometimes. Sometimes it's just a case of going through it once and then going through it again, which is why it's so useful for you that these sessions are recorded. What types of questions would be asked in the exam about genomes? Honestly, the only question really get asked is the importance of understanding the genome. You can sort of predict the questions from the way they word it on the specification, which I'll talk you through. It's a massive hack, really. I'll talk you through that next lesson. You don't really understand the process of meiosis and why it's needed. Meiosis is needed to create our gametes, which are half our DNA, and they're needed for sexual reproduction, fertilization. Okay, I'll go back to the genome because it seems like a few of you are understanding that. Maybe I did whiz through that a little bit too quickly. So the genome is our range of genes, our range of DNA. It's important that we understand this because obviously genes are linked to diseases. Whilst they code for our characteristics, they also code for our bad characteristics, which are our diseases, okay? So if we understand our genes, then we understand how we can treat these better. Okay. A question about the genome, would you have to include all 3 points to get the marks, or could you just cover 1 point? Well, it depends how many marks the question is. I mean, there's three points, so there is potential for this to be a 3-mark question. Normally, though, you see that it would just be a 1-mark question. You can just put one of them. But the bits in, I always colour keywords. Okay, so keywords, the bits you really need to look at. For the human genome, how would scientists know about genes of unborn babies? That's something it's called embryo screening, and we can look at that, and we can look at the genes. We'll cover that in next lesson, actually, when we look at inheritance, we look at inherited disorders. We've got, going back to chromosomes, this is the stuff that we had on chromosomes. Okay then, so the Kahoot then, if you can all go to, let's go on to, if you can all go to kahoot.it or open the Kahoot app, I would like you all to have your first name. I can get rid of you from the Kahoot really quickly. So first names only, please. Okay, and once I know we've got lots of you in here, so I'm not gonna stick around too long. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes for all of you to join, and then we'll get started. So if you've been taking notes, then you should be set up quite well for this. So it's gonna be the ultimate quiz. We've got so many of you in here, so whoever comes at the top, that's the ultimate, isn't it? Okay, we'll just give you a couple more minutes. So the game pin is 1707063. Oh, there's so many of you. It's so exciting. Still going up. While I'm waiting, we did have a question earlier about what A levels I did. So I'll answer it now. I did A level biology, geography, and maths, and also AS physics. Still more of you. Okay. I think that should be all of you now. You should still be able to join it if. Okay. Whoa, right. How do I even start this? Where's the start button? Oh, here we go. It's on the side. Okay, yeah, you should still be able to join if, as we get started. Okay, here we go. So, question 1. How many pairs of chromosomes do humans have? Is it 23, 21, 46, or 42? I always worry with these Kahoot quizzes that I've clicked the right answers, because I had it once where I'd pressed the wrong answer and then everyone who got it right got it wrong. So, nightmare. Good, 23. Well done, 130 of you. It's really impressive. Okay, so those of you who didn't get that one right, most of you put 46. I can see why you'd say that. That was my trick one there, really. So yes, we have 23 pairs. Keyword there being pairs. We do have 46 chromosomes. We have 23 pairs. So you have 2 copies of each chromosome. What is a gene? Is it a small section of DNA coding for a sequence of amino acids? Is it an entire chromosome? Is it code for a sequence of proteins, or is it 3 bases? Interesting. So I did think that this was going to catch a few of you out. So well done. If you put either of these on the left, you're almost there. Well done to 83 of you who put coding for a sequence of amino acids. Those of you who put DNA coding for a sequence of proteins, I'm sorry, that was harsh of me. It was a bit mean there, but it goes to a protein, but a protein is a sequence of amino acids, okay? How many cells does meiosis produce? 1, 2, 3, or 4? And again, if you get these wrong, like, don't be disheartened. It's really useful for you to then see where you're at, because then you can just go back and you can watch the appropriate sections again and try and get your head around it. But also, if you're doing well, then fab. Well done. Lots of you there said 4. So those of you who didn't get it right, again, promising 2. So 2 is not meiosis. We produce 4. Can anyone tell me in the chat, why do we produce 4 cells from meiosis? For sort of bonus points. I can't add them on Kahoot, but yeah, good, because it splits twice. We have 2 divisions. Well done. I think it's going to be tight between those at the top, because there are going to be some of you who get all of these right. Haploid cells. What does haploid mean? Can you work it out? What does haploid sound a bit like? So does mitosis produce haploid cells? False. So haploid means half numbers of chromosomes. Okay, so it means 23 instead of 46. So mitosis doesn't. Mitosis produces diploid cells, which means they've got full set of chromosomes. So haploid sounds a bit like half. Oh, that's changed things up a little bit. How many parents does asexual reproduction involve? 1 or 2? Good, just 1. So asexual reproduction, 1 parent, identical cells, only involves mitosis. How many chromosomes would a sperm cell have? So sperm cell is an example of a gamete. Gamete is produced by what type of cell division? Good, 23, well done. Most of you there, pretty impressive. Which of these statements about DNA is false? DNA is a double helix, it's single-stranded, it's a polymer, or it's contained in chromosomes. Good, DNA is single-stranded. It's not single-stranded, it's double-stranded. Okay, our final question then. What is an allele? This is going to introduce to us what we're doing next lesson. So I'll be interested to see how many of you know what an allele is. The next lesson, we're going to be looking at inheritance. So a different version of a gene, a chromosome, a gamete, or an enzyme. Good, so an allele is a different version of a gene. So that is what we're going to look at next lesson. So let's see what the scores are. Who are our winners? Well done, Michelle, 8 out of 8. I'm sure it's going to be very tight between them all. And who have we got in first place? Kevin, well done all of you. Fantastic work there. Okay, so hopefully that's highlighted to you what you have and haven't picked up, and well done all of you. Okay, so we're finishing, coming to the end a little bit early. So I'm just going to talk you through what we're going to do in the next lessons then, so you know what to expect for the rest of the week. I really would love to see lots of you here the rest of the week as well. It'd be fantastic. So tomorrow then, 9:45 Tuesday, we're going to look at inheritance. So we are going to look at alleles. So all these words like dominant, recessive, homozygous, heterozygous, you might have looked at before. We're going to have a look at all of those things and look at using those Punnett squares, which again I know is something that most of you find tricky. We should also have enough time to have a little look at inherited disorders as well. So the disorders we're going to look at are cystic fibrosis and polydactyly. And what else are we going to look at? And have a little look at embryo screening as well. So that should be a good lesson. And then Wednesday we are going to look at variation and evolution. So variation, why we are all different due to our genes and the environment. We're going to have a look at evolution, natural selection, evidence for that sort of thing. Thursday, we're going to have a look at classification and just sort of finish off any bits that we didn't get to do in the other sessions. There's not a huge amount of classification. And then Friday, we're going to tie this all together and say possibly the most important session of all. We can look at exam technique. So walk through lots of different exam questions, have a quiz on everything that we've done, and just really make sure you are prepared for those exams. I'm going to teach you how to do it the smart way, really, rather than just, because I think the problem is sometimes, there are students, you all here, all really impressive that you're here. You've clearly got some sort of motivation, but sometimes it's just about doing it in the right way. So we're going to go through all of that. Right, I'm going to answer some questions that we have in the chat now. Okay, let's see what we've got. How does the human genome show migration patterns? Is it to do with changes in the environment? So migration patterns, what we can do is we can go to a certain area and we can have a look at the DNA there, and we can see how different that is compared to another area. So for example, if generally the DNA of someone in England is quite similar to someone in Sweden or somewhere, that shows that their ancestors might have migrated from Sweden, okay, and shows that, because they're similar. So generally, the more different the DNA, the longer ago they migrated. Asexual means one parent. Advice for revision for mocks, I would say just do lots of exam questions and condense everything down as much as you can. So it's called the specification, and so for AQA it outlines everything that you need to know, and it shows you the things that you can cut out, because you might be taught certain things in classes that you don't actually need to know for your exams. It's really useful to know the specific things that you need to know for your exam. So I would have a look at the specification, use that to revise, do lots of past papers. What else have we got? What happens in the exam technique session? We will be walking through some different exam questions, and I'll be explaining to you how to sort of read the question and identify what the examiners are looking for. Revision tips, I would say for GCSE biology flashcards, I use a lot of flashcards for GCSE biology and sort of have common questions on, but really make sure you're not neglecting things like math skills, practical skills, that sort of thing. Can I explain Down syndrome again? Yes, so Down syndrome is, if we go back to our Mitosis Meiosis slide. So Down syndrome, what we do in meiosis is we're splitting that DNA, we're halving it. It's where one chromosome doesn't get split, okay? Which means that one of the gametes end up with one extra chromosome, which means that, so the chromosome number 1, we have extra chromosome 21. Advice on how to take notes. I would say just keep them as concise as possible. So really take note of the key points, use the specification. You can find it by just looking up AQA GCSE biology, find that specification and take notes from the key points, highlight keywords, and incorporate things that you find on mark scheme into your notes. How do you condense notes? One of the best ways to condense notes is to use mark schemes and just get it down to keywords. I can show you all how to use the spec next lesson, or possibly, depending on how we get on for time, we'll definitely at least go for it in the exam technique lesson. What does asexual produce? It produces identical offspring. What grade did I get for my GCSE biology exam? I got an A star. I got full marks. What did I do in biology? Like, what type of topics? What do you mean? How to revise for practicals, lots and lots of exam question. Again, something that we're going to look at. We're going to look at practicals, the exam questions. Mind you, there's not really a huge amount for this sort of topic, but what grade did I get in biology, GCSE and A level? I also got an A star in A level. Yep, I like biology. Does the AQA specification include everything you need to know? Yeah, it should generally include most things that you need to know. So sometimes it will give you a starting point for things. So it might tell you the structure of DNA. It doesn't tell you the structure of DNA in the specification. It just tells you that you need to know that. What effect will one chromosome not splitting have in Down syndrome? It means that we get an extra chromosome. How many chromosomes do cells begin with in mitosis and meiosis? 46, because that's how many cells we have in our body cells. Is this paper 1 AQA? I think this is paper 2. I don't know, check the specification. When is best to start exam revision? As soon as possible, do it as you go. After every class, or go over your notes. Did I use my past work from year 8 and year 7 to revise? Not really, to be honest. I used it to help me understand when I was going through things in class, but I didn't use it to help me revise. Do I have any recommendations for memory techniques? Yes, associate with real life things, come up with mnemonics, come up with little analogies for things. I do a lot of that. Did I get a 9? Well, I didn't get a 9 because I did the old style GCSE, so 9s weren't a thing when I did them. I did the new A levels, but not the new GCSEs, so I just got an A star. Did I get full marks in the A level exams? I didn't get full marks. It's literally impossible to get full marks in A level exam, but I got the highest mark in my year. I feel like I'm bragging a bit. I'm not. I'm just saying you can trust me that I'll tell you what you need to know. Did I do triple science? Yes. Did I get an A star in anything else at GCSE? Yeah, I got 7 A stars at GCSE and 4 A's. Can they ask you anything that's not in the spec? No, they can't, other than application questions. But it always has to link to something that's in the specification. I'll go through that in exam technique. Oh, we've got so many questions. I'm trying to get through them quickly. Any questions that aren't answered, I will answer tomorrow. What are some of my mnemonics and associations? I'll tell you those as we do them in class. Do I know any good biology websites? I mean, the normal sort of, oh, who is it? I mean, on YouTube, there's some good YouTube channels. What's her name? Emma the Teacher is good. And also, obviously, Free Science Lessons, probably everyone knows about that. Yeah. This video, what other questions we've got? Okay. Where can you get past papers from? You can get them from the AQA website. How did I do in Maths GCSE? I got an A star in Maths GCSE. Okay, right. I think that's all of the questions that we have today. Okay, right. Let's just. Okay, yeah, well, that's everything. Well, thank you so much, all of you. I think we sent in the chat access in the video via the MyTutor YouTube channel. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming and for engaging with me and chatting with me. It's so lovely to have so many of you here and to see that you're all using your half term effectively. Hopefully see just as many of you at the sessions throughout the rest of the week, and hopefully you'll absolutely nail this topic, which is one of the hardest topics in the whole of GCSE biology. So if you can nail this, you are doing really, really well. So yeah, I appreciate all of your hard work and see you tomorrow again at 9:45. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.